Iran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz only if the oil is paid for in Chinese yuan. Very interesting. Let's wrap in an attack on the petrodollar, shall we? Iran allowed India to pass 2 of its liquefied natural gas tankers, only 2. It allowed India to pass 2 of its liquefied natural gas tankers through the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for the release of 3 Iranian oil tankers that had been seized by India. The era of free passage through the Strait of Hormuz is over. Iran is now collecting debts in exchange for sea passage. They should have done this a long time ago. I mean, this is just brilliant, everything they're doing. There's a lot of people in the media right now saying Trump had no idea that the Iranian response was going to be so big, so vast, all these strikes on U.S. bases, the radar systems being crippled, Israel being destroyed, and Strait of Hormuz being closed, right? How could have you known? He had no idea, right? The reason why they're doing this is it's just PR. They're trying to save Trump's poll numbers. They're trying to make him look far less stupid than he is. The real low IQ truth to this whole thing is that, of course, Trump knew. Of course, Trump knew. If random podcasters like myself saw that this was going to happen, of course, Trump knew. And we have confirmation of that. Okay, take a listen to this. This is in the lead up to the war. Before the U.S. went to war, General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, told President Trump that an American attack could prompt Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. Kane said in several briefings that U.S. officials had long believed Iran would deploy mines, drones, and missiles to close the world's most vital shipping lane, according to people with knowledge of the discussions. Trump acknowledged the risk, these people said, but moved forward with the most consequential foreign policy decision of his 2 presidencies. In spite of this, he told his team that Tehran would likely capitulate before closing the strait, and even if Iran tried, the U.S. military could handle it. Now, 2 weeks into the war, Iran's leaders have refused to back down, and the Strait of Hormuz has emerged as Tehran's most potent leverage point. Very true. Didn't have to be this way, but very true. That's what's going on. And now we have Secretary of War Pete Hegseth giving us the raw, unfiltered truth. Take a listen. This is just excellent analysis. Real fucking Napoleon here. Pete Hegseth. Take a listen to what he has to say.
The only thing prohibiting transit in the straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that. The only thing prohibiting transit in the straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that.
The Strait of Hormuz is open for transit should Iran not bomb it. So it's open. And to that I say, the only thing preventing me from being a billionaire is the lack of $1 billion in my bank account. I am a billionaire. Should my bank account not lack that $1 billion? What are we doing? What are we doing? You know, if he was trying to say something like, oh, you know, the Iranians haven't yet placed mines in the Strait of Hormuz, he could have just said that. I don't know. He's trying to I don't know who he's trying to be, but whatever he's trying to do, it's not working. I have no idea what he's saying. Iran has announced we targeted an American oil tanker in the Gulf waters at dawn today for its failure to comply with our naval force warnings. Iran obviously struck that Thai ship attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz a few days ago. Extensive damage to the ship. We have this footage of one of the sailors on the ship. Now, some people are asking the question, why on earth is Iran targeting these ships? Well, in certain circumstances, Iran is giving warnings to these ships, and they are refusing to adhere to these warnings. And therefore, the Iranian military is taking, the appropriate course of action in their view. But in some cases, the reason why these ships are being targeted is because, yes, they are controlled by U.S. entities who are profiting in these GCC countries. And by logic, by extension of the logic that Iran needs to recuperate their losses, they are targeting them. But it's more than that. It's more than just like, oh, you're hitting our infrastructure, so we need to hit some of your assets. It's more than that. The reason why is actually about when Iran is doing this. That is what matters most here. Because the whole reason why Trump is coming out and saying this stuff about we declare victory, the Strait of Hormuz is open, it's fine. You know, the reason why they are saying it's fine and everything is okay and there's no closure of the Strait of Hormuz is to try and lower the cost of oil. If you say everything's fine, the president of the United States says, you know, Iran is defeated, 100% of military capabilities destroyed, and the Strait of Hormuz is open, that will make oil prices go down temporarily, of course, because then right before markets open or close, what does Iran do? They strike a few ships off the coast of the Strait of Hormuz, right around the Strait of Hormuz, and then boom, the oil prices go right back up. And as you saw in that article, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, whatever it was, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is the most potent leverage that Iran has against the collective West, the U.S., the Zionist entity, and all other parties who are participating in this criminal war of aggression against Iran. So it's really a game of propaganda that involves, you know, war. But it's a game of propaganda, and the propaganda is solely meant to impact the global price of oil. So Trump is saying everything is fine, oil prices go down, Iran strikes a few ships. Maybe they're not actively trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz, but they strike a few and oil prices go back up. And it's this crazy game of tit for tat. But that can only last so long, of course, before people understand, who are not military experts, who don't follow this stuff closely, that like, no, actually the Strait of Hormuz is very much closed. And it doesn't matter what Trump says each and every day. Despite Trump calls, the U.S. Navy told the shipping industry that military escorts in the Strait of Hormuz were not possible right now. Yeah, no shit. Iran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz only if the oil is paid for in Chinese yuan. Very interesting. Let's wrap in an attack on the petrodollar, shall we? So Strait of Hormuz is closed, but unless, unless all you GCC countries want to sell in the petro yuan. So yeah, sure, Europe can buy your oil. The US can buy your oil. Australia, Japan, they can buy your oil. They're just going to have to use yuan to buy it. They cannot use the US dollar. They have to use petro yuan. Very interesting. Very, very interesting move from the Iranians. Also, this is a terrific move from the Iranians. Iran allowed India to pass 2 of its liquefied natural gas tankers, only 2. It allowed India to pass 2 of its liquefied natural gas tankers through the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for the release of 3 Iranian oil tankers that had been seized by India. The era of free passage through the Strait of Hormuz is over. Iran is now collecting debts in exchange for sea passage. They should have done this a long time ago. I mean, this is just brilliant, everything they're doing. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, let's keep going here. What else do we have? Iranian Foreign Minister Arakchi says U.S. spent months bullying India into ending oil imports from Russia. After 2 weeks of war with Iran, the White House is now begging the world to buy Russian crude. Yes, the U.S. is providing a temporary exemption, I believe until like April 1st or something, to buy Russian crude. And again, temporary, so this is only going to last for a few weeks, but the idea is let's get the price of crude oil down as far as we can over the next 2 weeks, because the fear is that once the price of crude oil gets to a certain point above 100, 120 bucks per barrel, then it is just an endless death spiral into a black hole of the price skyrocketing beyond belief. And it's only going to get worse in the coming weeks. The Economist reports that if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed until the end of the month, some analysts reckon crude could surge to $150 per barrel or even $200 a barrel. That's coming from The Economist. And oh yeah, should we add that the Houthis, Ansar Allah in Yemen, are also getting involved? As someone who I know very well, a spokesman for Ansar Allah, Mohammed al-Bukaidi, he came out and gave a press statement yesterday on behalf of Ansar Allah, in Sana'a, Yemen, and said that the decision has been made. We have not closed the Bab el-Mandeb Strait yet, but the decision has been made, and you will all see very soon. Now, what is he talking about? Well, Patricia Marins explains it pretty well here, what we all kind of assume is going on in Yemen. I don't think it will be long before the Houthis announce the closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait into the Red Sea. For an operation of this scale, they must have been planning it over the last few weeks, stockpiling anti-ship missiles, anti-aircraft systems, and various types of drones. It's not just about closing the strait, but about being able to sustain the blockade against a naval task force that will certainly be deployed in response. As we had already predicted, missile launchers from Iran haven't stopped, and those from Yemen are unlikely to stop if a blockade is put in place. With two major straits closed, the war could escalate dramatically. This also raises questions about why Iran hasn't closed the Bab el-Mandeb until now. Iran's war strategy seems to follow several distinct stages. The first was to suppress fire from the American bases in the Gulf countries and launch counterstrikes against Israel. The second focused on targeting radars, creating a missile corridor to Israel and toward a Saudi airbase, while a counter-drone operation was launched to reduce surveillance over the territory. The third stage, it seems to me, focuses heavily on the economic aspect, further suffocating the Gulf countries by targeting their financial and corporate systems, which Iran views as U.S. partners, and attacks against its territory. In this regard, only Saudi Arabia is currently exporting through the Red Sea around 50 to 60% of its oil capacity. In a scenario where much of Iran's objective already seems fulfilled, this puts the Gulf countries in a position to put intense pressure on Trump to force an end to the war. However, the fact that Saudi Arabia is still exporting through the Red Sea lessens the Iranian pressure on oil prices. It is therefore very likely that the Houthis will step in shortly. Iran's war should still enter a new phase of targeting key industries in other countries in the region, and by all indications, this conflict is far from over. Beyond what the U.S. and Israel are doing, I don't expect any major innovations from them. The idea of putting boots on the ground in Iran seems insane to me, but in this war, I no longer doubt anything. So, as you can see here, there's still active shipments being done through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait into the Red Sea, but that is going to come to a close very soon. If you listen to the words of Yemen's Ansar Allah spokesman Mohammed al-Baqaidi, and it's not going to be a pretty picture for the global oil markets, especially for Saudi Arabia. They're going to be very upset by that. But there's not much they can do, because with a Yemen that has the capacity that they do have now, the training and expertise they do have now, hypersonic missiles that they do have now, which can reach Israel, it is going to be a far, far, far darker, bleaker future for Saudi oil and gas executives than it was during the 10, 12-year genocidal war that they launched against the Yemenis back in the 2010s this time around, because Yemen, frankly, has the capability to wipe out not just one major oil and gas facility in Saudi Arabia, but the capacity to hit each and every one. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.